Welcome to the My Creative Days podcast, where we will talk about all things DIY, home decor, decorating tips, and creating a beautiful home on a budget. I am hoping our time together will spark a creative idea, help you plan your next DIY, or inspire you to finally tackle that project you keep putting off. Grab your favorite cup of motivation and let's chat. Well, hello and happy Monday. Today I'm going to talk about something a little different. Something that I'm not talking about decorating, thrifting, flipping, furniture, budgeting, anything like that. Today I'm talking about change. I don't know if I'm really talking about change. I'm just going to kind of tell you it was a big change for us, and I now know that I officially don't love big changes. And so I thought I would talk about this a little bit today because it's something that I struggled with, and I'm on the other end of this. And to be completely honest, I have tried to record this podcast, I think 4 times, and could not get through it without crying, which is so weird for me to admit and say here openly. Because to be honest, I don't know. It's so weird and something I didn't see coming. So on November 4th or 5th, I can't remember which day it was, beginning of November, we welcomed a new family member into our home. We welcomed Miss Hillie May. She is a mini Australian Labradoodle into our family. And to give you a little backstory, we have not had a dog. We had a pet bunny for, I think 3 years, maybe 4 years, and she passed away. I can't remember. She was outside. She had a hut. She had the whole 9 yards. That's kind of where my pet, Matt and I, we were thinking our pet life would be, right? Since then, Gabrielle has been the biggest pusher for a puppy. Back then we knew for sure it was definitely not going to work, and it wasn't the right time for our family, and all the things. And Gabrielle, she, over the last 2 years, has written essays. She's given us presentations. She has walked us through, what it's going to look like and how this is going to benefit, and promised all the things under the moon, like every kid does, right? I'm going to walk it. I'm going to pick up all the poop in the backyard, and I'm going to do this, and my room will always be clean. And you know how it goes. And so we just kind of left it there. Gabrielle and I, we would look up different breeds. We would look up, their temperaments. We would look up, breeders around us, breeders not around us. We were just looking up, she would have lists of names. And so anyway, so it was kind of fun to just kind of see her, make her argument, really kind of work for it. And in the sense that, she really put thought and effort into, the presentations and everything she was doing. And so that's kind of where we lived, just kind of stayed in that zone. And it was kind of and Landon was like, I don't want a dog really. Matt was, I don't really want a dog. And I was on the fence, she's going to never have a dog. Is this the right thing? Do we really want this? Blah, blah, blah. And as I'm talking about this now, I can feel what I was dealing with kind of rear its head here. It's just the weirdest thing. So I thought I would do this podcast about it. But one day then, I don't know if it was the summer or the early fall, Matt came home and he had listened to a podcast or something. And it was about living your life and stop holding back, just live your life. And it was a lot of things. And so we do, when we listen to podcasts, we do like to, hey, I listened to so-and-so and this is what they were talking about. It was really good. Or I thought it really, and so he came home and he's like, I think we need to get a dog. And I was like, okay. That was the first time he had ever been on, team, let's get a dog. And so after he did that, I did a ton of researching. I reached out to breeders. I reached out to just different people about dogs. I called all my friends and said, okay, how much does a dog cost? I did all of the research, right? And then, okay, so fast forward, we did not tell the kids. We did not tell the kids that we were going to get a dog. And then we brought her home, surprised them. And it was great. Gabrielle cried. Landon was like, you didn't. It was so funny. And to be completely honest, I just have to kind of put this in here now. We knew Gabrielle was going to be great with a dog, right? Like she had been making this argument for years. To watch Landon with Hillie, it's been unbelievable. It's almost, I don't know, it's just been, Landon needed this dog. We feel like he's kind of, I don't know. It's just been amazing to watch. And so Gabrielle's wonderful, of course. Landon, just to watch him with her has been like, that's been the highlight. And then there's me. And the adjustment, the change, you guys, I was not okay for a good 3 weeks after we got her. And it wasn't instant. It was like after a couple of days of, the shock and just like the first 2 nights she cried and howled. But after that, I'm not kidding. She has slept in her kennel at least 9 hours a night. I mean, the sleeping has been amazing. We've had a handful of accidents, and the accidents we have had, it's been like, well, initially it wasn't, but like the last ones we'd had, they were our fault. One time Gabrielle had friends over and she wasn't paying attention to her signs. And so, it was one of those. And so she's doing well at giving us signs and, like, okay, you've got to go and all those and the walking and all that. It's been completely, I mean, to be honest, she's a really good puppy. But it was something with me that I did not see coming. A lot of anxiety, a lot of freak out moments where I'm like, was this the right decision? Our family was fine without a dog. Like it's our new norm. Are we okay with this? Is it okay? Like, are we ever going to go anywhere? I mean, it was just like irrational, like anxiety. It was so weird. And it was so embarrassing to actually, what do I want to say, admit to. One day, so obviously I knew this going in, it would be me all day with the puppy, right? Because Matt goes to work outside the home and the kids are at school. And again, she has not been bad or horrible at all, but it was just kind of like, I couldn't get, in the beginning, it was like, I need to be recording videos. I need to be recording podcasts. I have to be writing blog posts. I have to be doing live videos, like all the things that I do, which is a lot. I need to be in the garage. If it was a nice day, I could be getting painting done. And I just couldn't get in that flow. And I think that's where a lot of my anxiety came from. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. Like, I can't be, full-time on puppy duty. I have a full-time job. I have a full-time and then some job. It's not just a 9 to 5. And so I was really, really struggling. And one day I was in tears. I can't believe I'm saying all this. But it's something that it was so shocking to me, and it was such a real thing that I think, if anybody else goes through this, and it could not be, it doesn't have to be a new puppy or but I just want you to know, a new puppy, it's a lot of work. It could just be some other big change. And it just pushed me in a place where I have never been. And I was just like, what is happening? And the only person that knew was Matt. Matt was the only one that knew. I was, keeping it quiet from the kids. And then one day I called my mom. It was during the day. I had called Matt and I was really struggling, and I called my mom, and she's now retired, and she's like, I'll be right over, and hung up the phone. And so she came over and we had a great conversation, me crying 75% of the time, which I'm not a big crier at all. So it was just a huge shock to my system. And there were some other things. So when we got Hillie, there were some other like big changes in my business, and some other things that were kind of going on that Matt kept saying, I just think it's everything, like accumulation of everything that's going on right now, where they are big changes. And so he's like, I just think it's, it's just overflow. And so it's just coming out in this way. And he could totally be right. He could, but, I actually it was like 3 weeks, you guys. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, like I wasn't sleeping, I wasn't eating, I wasn't, like this anxiety was just with me. And she's so sweet. And I'd cuddle her. It wasn't her. and like I told my mom, I said, it has nothing to do with her, at all. It's just like the situation, the change, what do I want to say? Kind of like our livelihood, or like the way it's going to be now, or like everything around it, not actually her. And so, we would have friends come over that would want to see the puppy, or friends would, talk about the puppy, or my sister who just got another puppy. She's got 2 dogs, 2 cats. The cats live outside, but I just kept looking. And then I had another friend that I talked to her, and I was just like, what is happening? I just said, this isn't, I didn't tell her everything, but I'm like, I just feel like it was going to be different. And then she's talking about getting a second dog. And so I kept thinking of all these people I know that have multiple dogs, that have 1 dog, that are just, they're thriving and it's okay. And so my one friend, she was like, you are literally right now, and it'll probably be for the first 2 months or just 8 weeks, you're kind of in the suck of it. And that's quote unquote what she said of it. She said, she's like, it's just, you're trying to learn her. She's trying to learn you. You're just trying to get in you need to work from home, and and the sleeping, which that wasn't an issue after the second night. Cause I'm like, it's not sleeping. I'm not losing sleep. There's not a lack of sleep because of the puppy. I was just, the anxiety was making me not sleep. But so she's like, it will get better. And, everybody kept saying it will get better. It's, and so it did. I really second guessed, doing this podcast, because I don't want, any of you that are getting new puppies, or you're just not sure if it's the right thing to do. I don't want to deter you either way. I don't want to be the one that's like, yes, get one. No, don't get one. It's definitely a decision, you need to think about, and it's, but the big change really threw me for a loop. I did not see that coming at all. It lasted about 3 weeks. I am on the other side of it now. She is sleeping right now. As I look over, one of my team members got her a bed, for the floor, and she is sleeping on that right now with my blanket that I like to use in my office over my lap. But this is where, we have done lives together now. We have, it's still an adjustment, and it's still, she does come to me though, and she will whine, and it's like, okay, that's great. Then she's got to go to the bathroom, because my office is in the lower level of our house, but so I take her up and go out. But in the beginning, it was like I was sitting out there, because not knowing, like, she should be going pee, right? She should be, have to go. And so I'd be sitting out there for 45 minutes, an hour, and then just freaking out about all the work I wasn't getting done, and, all the things. And then, I would kennel her during the day when I would need to get alive or get some work done. And that worked out fine too. But it was just and like my mom said, that I've always been the person that has always been so scared to fail, or just didn't want to ever fail. And everything's got to be perfect, and everything's got to be, like new things like that are just going to go perfectly. And for it to hit me like that, like I did not see that coming at all. I mean, it was, I can laugh about it now because I was crying about it so much back then, but it was just a shock to my system. And I've never experienced anxiety like that before. And it was just something that I did not see coming. And so I want to encourage anybody, and when you come out of these things, and I think this is like the biggest lesson, when I have had other this is minimal to some trying times that I've had in my life. Thankfully there has only been a couple, in my life that have been horrible or just really tough times. And so, I always know that you're going to come out of these times, learning something or better on the other side, if that makes sense. In the moment, you can't see it. And for me, not experiencing, I am a high-strung person. I wouldn't say I'm an anxious person. I'm a high-strung, I always want to be busy. I'm always talking. I'm always, like that. But this kind of anxiety and this pit in my stomach, and it was almost like a dread feeling. I've only had that like once ever in my life. So I knew what it was. And I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to get out of this? Is there ever going to be like, is there going to be a light at the end of the tunnel? And there always is. And in the moment, you cannot see it at all. You are in it like it's the worst, because you just feel like it's all encompassing. Like it just takes over your whole life. And so if you are going through that at all, just know that you can't reason with it. You can't make sense of it right now, but you will someday, and you will get through it. And ask somebody for help, or tell somebody. It was so much better when I was starting to feel that feeling. I would call Matt at work, or we would be laying in bed at night and it would hit me. And then I would talk about it. Or like when I called my mom that day, there are certain people you can definitely talk to. And there are certain people that you don't want to let them know. Reach out to those people that you can trust and that you can lean on, because it just helps you to talk about it, even though none of it makes sense. As I was talking about it, I'm like, I would even say to Matt or my mom, like, none of this makes sense. I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know. It's just a pit in my stomach. It's like, I just want to make sure this was the right decision. And like, it was just the weirdest thing. And so I just want to say, when you're watching people on social media, or you're watching it's the highlight reels, or when people only post the good things, that is only a fraction of their story, of their life, of a good time, right? Like a new puppy. See, my dad, he's had some health issues, and so he's not 100% with it, which is so sad. But, one day I was at my parents' and I had Hillie with me. And I just said, I said something like, my mom had known. And so I said something like, my dad was there, and I was just like, I don't know if I said overwhelmed, or if I said, I can't remember I didn't say anxious or anything like that. And he's like, what do you mean? You just got a new puppy. Like, what is there to be anxious or overwhelmed, or whatever word I used about? And it's like, see, you never know. Even happy times, you get a new puppy, and everybody knows it's like having a baby. It's, it's work, and there's a lot of, adjustment and all of that. But, everybody thinks you get a new puppy and everything's perfect and joyous and everybody's happy. And it's not the case all the time. It's just like it's like postpartum depression. It's like, all of those things. So even if somebody's putting on a good face and somebody's putting on the smiles and you just never know. So be kind. Don't just assume, because you just never know. And if you're going through this, if you're getting a new puppy, congratulations. They are a lot of fun. Hillie has been unbelievable for our family. And like I said, it was only me, and I don't know what it was. The only thing that I can attribute it to, now looking back, is that it was the change, and it was the, me Monday through Friday, like figuring out, I think I was, worried about work and not getting it done, and like having to be with her all the time. And is she going to have an accident? And, those kinds of things. I was worried about that. And I had some big things going on with my business. So I think it was just like an accumulation of all those things. But like now, we're in a flow. There are still times when I'm like, you're good. I'm still learning her cues. She's still learning what my normal looks like, which isn't always normal. I'm doing different things all the time. And so we're figuring it out, but it's that anxiety and everything is gone. And I just wanted to share this with you, because it's not just all rainbows and butterflies. It's not just what you see on social media. It's not just the highlight reels. It's not, even if it's a good time or like it's supposed to be an exciting thing, it may not be for somebody behind the scenes. And so I just think we need to give ourselves so much more grace than we do. Like we give everybody else around us so much grace, right? And I don't know why we're so hard on ourselves for that, especially when you're going through a big change. And I had my yearly doctor's appointment a couple weeks ago, and she was just asking the normal questions. Anything in your health? Anything changed? And I said, well, yeah, I have something embarrassing to tell you. And I'm sure she thought, oh no, like what is she going to tell me? And then when I told her, like I really was dealing with some major anxiety and like over a new puppy. And she didn't even bat an eye. And she said, that's not embarrassing. And like she's a doctor, obviously. I love her. But I mean, I'm sure she has heard. I'm sure when she got out of that office, she was like, oh my gosh, that was the embarrassing thing. You know, I'm sure she has heard some major things, but it's almost when you're going through it and then when you're looking back on it, you're embarrassed, or like it definitely for me. When, you know, going through something like that when it's not supposed to be that way. And like I said, there's been one other time in my life when it was like things weren't supposed to be that way, and things weren't going right, and I didn't want anybody to know. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I was embarrassed. I didn't want to talk because you can't understand it. You can't. It's like you couldn't fix it when you're in the depths of that. Just reach out to somebody. Call your doctor. You know, talk to somebody. Talk to a professional. It's just, and you can never plan for that. You can't see the end of it when you're in it. And I just never saw this coming. And so I thought, I'm going to share my story. Like I said, I've tried to record this podcast 4 times. It was like, a week into it. And then it was 2 weeks into it. And cause I kind of wanted to share, her and how we're doing. And I couldn't get through it without crying, which is so weird. And so I'm excited that I'm now able to talk about it. I'm hoping that this story or the things that I've talked about can help somebody, because you aren't alone. If you can reach out, email me, message me. If this resonated with you, let me know. Message me on Instagram, email me. I would love to know, because I don't think these things get talked about enough. I don't think these things get normalized enough. And I don't always, it's not always the highlight reel, and I don't love seeing the highlight reel every time. I don't want to see, every time somebody, something good happens, that's the only time you see like a friend of yours post something, or, and not that you want it to be full of all the bad things too, but seeing some of the real or the behind the scenes or the whatever it is, like the just not so pretty stuff. There's just so much more reality in that, and so much more I can relate to that so much more, because nobody's life is that highlight reel, and nobody's life is, rainbows and butterflies all the time. So I can breathe now. Finally, this is out. I got through this entire podcast without crying. I'm actually smiling. I will say that I'm going to write a blog post, and we actually have made an Instagram and a TikTok account for Hillie. So she is at Miss Hillie Mae, and it's spelled HILLIE MAE. And I really wanted to do that because I want to teach my kids kind of the business behind social media, and kind of have them, they do not have social media for them on their own. They, like, personally, we have started some other accounts for them. Landon, not Gabrielle yet. She's still on the fence, but I want to push them to kind of do some of these business things on social media, because I think they could both do really well. But anyway, so we did start some accounts for her, and so I am sharing her also on my accounts at My Creative Days as well. Just it is kind of fun to oh my gosh, if you guys could see her right now. She sleeps like half on this bed, and her face is between her. She's really cute. But anyway, so we are documenting her life with us, what we're learning. And I am in the midst of, again, I couldn't even write the blog post. I just didn't want to. I couldn't. It was just so weird. I want to write a blog post about the things that we got for her in the beginning that we really loved, and then some things that I got that they weren't great for us and didn't work for her, because since I have, welcomed her or kind of announced her on my social media, I have a lot of people that are getting a puppy, or that want to, like, they've seen some of the things that we have gotten for her or sent to us to try with her, and they're wondering like how it worked or if we liked it. So I really want to put those things in a blog post. So we will definitely put a link to that in our show notes, because some of these things have been really great. And if you're getting a new puppy or have a puppy and are just looking for some new things, I want to have that resource for you. So I will get that together. I'm hoping to get that done this week. And so by the time this podcast comes out, all of those, that whole entire post will be ready for you guys. So if you have a new puppy and it's not all rainbows and butterflies, I get you. Please reach out to me. I wish I had, somebody that had kind of gone through that same thing or feelings that I could reach out to, because you can't explain it to somebody else that hasn't. It's just weird. It's just always nice whenever you're going through something like that to have somebody that's been through it. So you can reach out to me. Please message me. I can be your sounding board. It does get better. And even if it's not a puppy, like I've been thinking since this all happened, we have really been looking for a new house. And I think I've talked about that in other podcasts for us. And then I it's like, would I be okay with that big of a change? And, so I really wondered about that and wondered if the reason why I went through this with Hillie is to let me know that, chill out with some of these other big changes that you're planning or looking into right now. Like, this was big enough for now. And then, maybe down the road we'll be ready for that. And who knows? I'm just wondering, you kind of look back on it and you're like, okay, maybe this was just kind of why this happened. I got through it. You definitely will see the reason why when you get out of it. Even like the other time I talked to you about something where I had a lot of anxiety and something was not going right. Now when I look back on that, I see a lot of good that came out of it. I see, there was a lot of hurt that was with it, but there's a lot of good that came out of it. And so if you're in the middle of it, I know what you're going through, but you will get out of it. You will, there's so much on the other side of it. And so talk to somebody, reach out to somebody, talk to a professional. There's definitely help out there, but, and when you get out of it, you will see the good, that was in it. And like me now, I have a new coworker who she's lazy most of the days. She doesn't like to get a lot done, and but she does sleep a lot, which is okay. So she's not very demanding. She's not a very demanding employee just yet, but I'm hoping we can keep her like that and keep her on the payroll. But she has been a great addition for our family, and Mom just had to get it together, I guess. I just had to get through that, and I'm now able to talk about it, and hopefully it helps one of you. So, okay, until next time, I'm just so excited I was able to get through this. I will be working on that blog post. We will have it in the show notes, and I will talk to you guys next Monday. Hello, friends. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm grateful that you tune in every week and that you share the show with your family and friends. I love having creative chit chats with you, and my hope is that this podcast will inspire you to try a new project, start a DIY that you've been putting off, and decorate your home exactly how you want it. There are a few ways you can help us with the podcast. Follow the podcast so you don't miss an episode. And if you could take a few minutes to leave the podcast a review, that would help us so much. Again, thank you for being here, and I look forward to our chat next week. Bye-bye.